Hello, everyone. Welcome into Stacking the Box. I am Matt Verder. Mark Carmen, I think, is here. We've got a lot to talk about. I'm on vacation. I was sleeping about a half hour ago because why not? It's vacation. But here we are. Woke up, saw the Aaron Rodgers news. Not surprised. I tweeted out yesterday it was between Green Bay and Denver, and it was. And Denver was very, very real in this whole thing. But in the end, back to the pack. And so 4 years, $200 million for Aaron Rodgers. And there's a lot to get to. But Carm, good morning to you on this Tuesday, the deadline day for franchise tags in the NFL. How are you?
Verum, I'm great. Good to see you. Thank you for waking up. Everybody is allowed to do their vacation however they want to do it. If you want to sleep till 10:30, 10:40, like you're back in the college days, I respect that. I'm actually surprised to hear you say that it was real with Denver because, well, first off, if you'd like to just, hey, Carm, you were right about this one. Feel free. We were in lockstep last year that he was coming back, but you actually didn't think it was happening or you at least doubted that he was coming back to Green Bay. But here it is. I certainly didn't have him getting 4 years and $200 million, 153 guaranteed. Holy moly. That is an investment, but the right investment in my mind for Green Bay. You don't run away from the MVP who can still play. I don't care how old he is. This was the only move for the Packers and really the only move for Rodgers, how I see it, Burram.
You know what? So here's what I've said throughout, and I'll stick with it. So I think in the end, this was predictable. And I say that because we've talked about it for a year. And I've said alongside you, look, I think in the end he will be back. I also, though, did say this year that I thought they should have traded him. Did they, if they got the right package? I mean, if they got, 2 to 3 first round picks and a bunch of other stuff, because he is 39 years old in December. Because while I think he's talented, I think he's also a real pain in the ass. And I think at some point that matters, and it starts to drag down your it drags down your enjoyability. Easy for me to say than to create a word, apparently. But in the end, he gives them by far their best chance to win. And by the way, they give him the best chance to win because going to Denver would have meant playing in the AFC, which is a much tougher conference right now than the NFC, okay, especially with Brady retiring. So in the end, I think it was the predictable move. I think for Rodgers, it was the smart move. And I think for the Packers, look, I don't know that I would have given him 4 years and $200 million. I'm going to be very honest about that. You're going into your 40s with this. Like, that contract's going to have some cap hits in the 60s. That's a lot. That's a lot. But I get it. I'm not knocking them for it. I totally get it. I think in the end, like, I wouldn't be shocked in 2 years from now if you're like, ooh, that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of dough, but look, maybe it's just my childhood / early adulthood that's coming around full circle with this, and it's totally different too. But the 1998 Chicago Bulls, I'll flip over, said goodbye to Jordan when he could still play, and then traded away the whole team. Aaron Rodgers, yeah, he's old, but he can still play football at a very elite level. You don't guess. You're not God when he's going to fall off the cliff. Tom Brady's doing this till he could, obviously punted on 45, but he's been doing this till he's 45 damn years old. Now is Rodgers doing everything off the field that Tom Brady did? Probably no. But he also is doing a pancha karma and all sorts of,
I don't know if that's good or bad, but he's doing
it. I don't know if it's good or bad either. But I mean, if you read about it, he's cleansing his, all the toxins out of his body. Probably is a good thing, So the point being, I mean, it sucks that he hasn't played his best in the biggest moments, and you only have one Super Bowl, and you're still making a bet on that he will be able to do that, but you make that bet. You just do. What are your alternatives here?
I mean, your alternatives are you believe in the guy you drafted in the first round. Now, obviously, they don't. Okay, they don't. Which fine. That's part of this too, right? They see Jordan Love every day on the field and in the building. If they don't believe in Jordan Love, which I mean, at this point now, Jordan Love's career is over in Green Bay.
In Green Bay, yeah, okay.
If you don't believe in him, then yeah, of course that would make this decision easier.
I mean,
Again, I don't want to come off that I'm knocking it because if I'm the Packers, I totally understand why they signed him. Right? I mean, he's a 2-time reigning MVP. He's a great player. I do think the deal when you pay somebody that much money this late in their career is fraught with pitfalls. Guys get hurt, and he has had injuries in the past. Not these, I wouldn't call him injury prone, but he's gotten hurt in the past. It's a lot of money. That said, I'm not surprised, and I'm not criticizing Green Bay. Like I get it, I 100% understand it. And now they're going to go forward. They'll tag Devontae Adams, and they'll eventually, I would think, pay him. Now they've paid Rodgers. Now you have to pay Devontae Adams, and you're going to have those two guys going forward, which is great. But let's also say this: the bottom line is, you can't really criticize Green Bay for. I think they actually handled it perfectly last year, and this year, listen, that's fine. They want to pay him, no problem there. I'm not going to knock them for paying him. Now comes the part that hasn't been there the last couple of years. They got to win. Like in the playoffs, they've got to win. And that's not any one person's fault. Rodgers, of course, takes most of the blame. But they've got to win. Like you're in a conference that, I'm sorry, you're clearly the best team, even with the champion Rams in there. Like you're better than the Rams. Let's be real. You should win. The big loser in all this is the Broncos, who could have gotten a game-changing situation, a quarterback, and now you're left with what? Trying to trade for Carson Wentz, trying to trade for Jordan Love, Jimmy Garoppolo, signing Jameis Winston, Mitch Trubisky.
Yes.
I mean, not great. Not great.
Right.
That they're the real loser in this whole thing.
Well, it's interesting too. Like if you line this up, if you're a Minnesota Vikings fan, if you're a Chicago Bears fan, to our great Detroit Lions fans out there, you didn't want this. That this would have been, the NFC North would have been wide open. Any of those teams could have made a claim that they have the best quarterback in the division and would have had an argument. That argument obviously is well out the window. Now, okay, if he shows up in Denver, is Kansas City shaking in their boots? No, but it ain't a good day, right? So this has stating obvious here, league-wide ramifications. But it also speaks to me, Verderam, there's a human side of this. Last year at this time, it was, a Cold War between Rodgers and the Packers. And they worked the relationship. Whatever happened behind the scenes, however, Brian Gutekunst and Aaron Rodgers became besties, and Matt LaFleur, whatever his role was in it, this was a relationship that was repaired. You don't see that a ton in sports. Once things get broke, they tend to end badly for the player, for the organization, and for the fans. I mean, Packers fans right now, I would think, are thrilled. Even the ones who are like, Squeeze isn't worse, the juice, like he's just a pain in the ass. Like even those people probably are at least somewhat breathing a sigh of relief. All right, we got him back. We're taking another swing. Let's go. They're wide open NFC. Let's not have the performance that we had in the frozen tundra when all you did was stare at Devontae Adams last year, which was a stunningly bad ending to a season that everybody thought was going to end at least with the Packers in the Super Bowl.
All right, so look, the butterfly effect of this now, right? So he gets $50 million a year. He just reset the quarterback market. Guess whose price just went up? Whose price just went up, Carl?
Let's think about that. Who hasn't gotten paid? Justin Herbert's price went up.
Price went up
Yeah.
significantly.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert's about to cost more than Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Guess what? Guess who? Lamar Jackson, his price just went up. Now, he's a tricky situation, but in his head, his price went up. Okay? You're going to see that not that he's going to get paid to this level, because he won't. Derek Carr is now getting paid $40 million somewhere annually. That's happening.
See, it's okay.
It will happen. He will get paid $40+ million somewhere else, or in Vegas.
And Derek Carr feels like a borderline safe bet. What's not a safe? Go ahead. I mean, no. I was.
Go ahead.
Like not a safe bet, but you're going to get him for, I mean, what's Mitchell Trubisky going to cost somebody?
10 to 15 million.
10, right. Now, what do you want to do? You want to pay Derek? Right. But like, there might be somebody out there that thinks that Matt Nagy sucked, Ryan Pace sucked, the Bears sucked. He's go ahead.
He's going to get paid. Carr, I was in Indianapolis all week, and people were talking about how he's going to get paid way more than anybody thinks. He's going to get paid. It's going to be ridiculous, but he's going to get paid. Arrowhead Dave in the chat brings up one that's interesting, and he's right. Stafford's price just went way up because he's going to get an extension, and he's going to get a fortune. By the way, Kyler Murray, in his head, price just went up. Like, that's why and Joe Burrow, same thing, by the way, who's going to get an extension after next year. Like, all these deals. That's why when Mahomes signed with the Chiefs, and even Allen signed the Bills, and people are like, whoa. They're bargains now. They're already bargains. What are they, 2 years into those deals? Allen's 1 year in, Mahomes is 2 years in. And it's only going to get crazier. Like, that deal resets the quarterback market. And the cap's going to explode next year because the TV deals are now going to take into effect here. And gambling money is going to take into effect. We're going to get into gambling money later, Calvin Ridley. But look, if you have a quarterback locked up right now, like a really, really good one, like a Mahomes, like an Allen, of course, Mahomes, that contract is insane how long he's locked up for. That is going to be the biggest bargain in sports in a few years. And when he signed it, it was beyond astronomical. And now you look at it and go, oh, that's a pretty good deal. And it was. And it will continue to be.
It's really amazing when you think about big picture on that, because long-term deals, like in baseball, they almost always work out terribly.
Almost always, yes.
Right. Here, it's a much safer bet. Because they get hurt, you'll have to take a huge cap hit and whatnot, but you can creatively get out of it. I mean, I do wonder at some point, Verderam, there's going to have to be a reset of the market of what quarterbacks are worth, but maybe not. Maybe I don't know. I mean, in 10 years, are they going $100 million a year? Is that what's the going rate?
Be tied to the cap. So I mean, right now, guys are making about 20% of the cap. If the cap is $400 million at the end of the decade, which I think it will be, they'll make $80 million a year.
Don't go to school. Get that arm going. Let's go, kids. 5, 6, 7 years old. Throw football. Learn the spiral. You can do this. I mean, the fact that we're saying that Mahomes' deal, and that's a good question from Eddie, does it get redone about halfway through? Maybe, right?
Maybe, but he has no leverage. It's hard, right? Like, he's signed forever. And I got to tell you, just kind of knowing what you know about that situation, I don't know that he would want to. Like, I don't know. Now, look, things change. People change, right? That's a long way off. But they signed that deal knowing it gave the Chiefs a ton of flexibility. They know that deal. Like Mahomes signed that deal with the knowledge that it's going to allow them to be really competitive. Travis Kelce, by the way, to a lesser extent, if you look at his deal, did the exact same thing. I remember when they signed Travis Kelce, and I had more than one agent reach out to me and say, my God, that is a horrible deal for him, but it's an amazing deal for the team. And that's true. Like, that deal for Kelce, he's kind of got to earn it every year. So does Mahomes in a weird way. But those guys basically just said, look, we're fine betting on ourselves as long as you keep investing around us to win Super Bowls. And they've done that. The Chiefs have been very, very aggressive. And I see in the chat, does anybody remember Rick DiPietro's 15-year contract with the New York Islanders? Probably the reason contracts are capped at 8 years now. Oh, yeah. If you're a hockey fan, you remember that. You remembered very, very well. He was a very talented goaltender with the Islanders. And I remember there was a whole story back in the day in Sports Illustrated about he and Martin Brodeur, the Devils, and Henrik Lundqvist of the Rangers, and how this metro area, this goaltending trio was going to dominate the league. Well, as it turned out, two of them did. And DiPietro got hurt constantly. And that contract was a disaster. And so, yeah, to the point, Jonathan, and to your point, Carm, yeah, big deals like that typically are a train wreck. They do not end well. But in football, at quarterback, they've done okay to this point. So we shall see. But I think, look, a lot of it is foresight and a lot of it's luck. Let's be real.
I mean, if we're spraying to other sports, long-term deals. Michael Jordan signed an 8-year, $28 million deal in the middle.
There are things that have happened since Michael Jordan.
Right. Well,
we could talk about one of the 800 deals that have happened in the NBA in the last 10 years.
Yeah, and a lot of them are. Let's look at that. Steph Curry signed a 4-year, $44 million deal, right? And everyone thought that was crazy. Listen, when you're paying for prime time guys, when you're paying for the top of the market, Shaquille O'Neal, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, whoever you want to pick out here. They're worth it, man. Patrick Mahomes, worth it. So,
for sure.
So this is not like it's a little. I mean, if we're looking at the money, like if I'm Green Bay, I'm not worried the least about signing him for. Now Daly throws in Russell Westbrook. Look, Russell Westbrook is whatever. That's fine. He's still worth a boatload of dough. Not that money.
I mean, a lot of guys in basketball. Basketball's unto itself. We don't have to go down that road, but basketball's ridiculous. These guys sign these huge deals, and then a month later they're upset and they want out. I mean, James Harden. I could never root for that guy to win a championship in my lifetime. I mean, my God, how many times are you going to whine and get your way and get out of somewhere? Just didn't work. I mean, you went somewhere with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Kyrie's never happy. Durant's, he's been incredible and he's been on the court, but that somehow is not enough. And he's got to go to Philly and he only will go. The NBA is so bizarre in the way that it handles itself. Like, I can't imagine if Justin Herbert woke up tomorrow and was like, I want to go to Denver. The Chargers would be like, that's nice. You're not going to Denver. Like, the NBA, Harden wakes up and goes, I'd like to go to our biggest rival. And the Nets are like, okay, that's fine. Like, whatever you want. It's insane.
Well, that's interesting in relation to Rodgers because the dude was trying to force his way out. Yeah. We're not trading you. You can miss training camp. You can do what you can pout. You can do whatever you want. Whenever you want to play, you're going to be playing in the green and gold, and you're going to be wearing number 12 right here at Lambeau Field.
I mean, look at what happened this past week. Then we can move on here with Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, right? So he's been, and actually today, as we've been doing this podcast, he put all his Instagram photos back up. Like this is some high school drama where like a couple broke up and then they got back together and they're like, oh, okay, let's put our photos back, and nothing ever happened. So Kyler and his agent, Eric Burkhart, have been actually, I should say Burkhart really has been vocal about this, right? But at the big statement, all caps, all this nonsense. And Murray's been driving that bus. He wants the extension. Well, Burkhart also represents Cliff Kingsbury. The Cardinals extended their GM, Steve Keim, and also extended Cliff Kingsbury to 2027, did not extend Kyler Murray. Think that's a little bit of a message? They basically told him, without telling him, look, you are not going to put us in a corner. You're not going to do that. You're not going to get out and be out front and be obnoxious and play all these games with us. We are not going to go down that road with you. So we're going to extend your head coach, who has not been nearly as good of a head coach as you have been a quarterback. We're going to extend your head coach because not only does it take care of him, it also takes care of your agent, who's getting 3% kicked up, right? So now the agent, he's still gonna back his guy, but it becomes a hell of a lot harder to go screaming and stomping and yelling into Arizona when you just got paid 3% for your other client. The Cardinals send the message there. And look, the point is, the NFL, for better or worse, is still the NFL. They handle things in a way where, look, you will get paid usually, should you deserve to get paid. There are some guys who unfortunately don't, okay? But there's a certain way to go about it. The NBA has turned into the wild, wild west. The NBA is a crap show, okay? Guys have a bad week, and it's like, I've got to get out of here. You got to send me to this specific team. I can't take it anymore. We lost 2 straight, and I didn't get the ball, and the coach looked at me in a weird way during practice. And now we got, I mean, my God, Ben Simmons still hasn't played. I look forward to Ben Simmons demanding a trade by Christmas, okay? Because we all know that's coming. I look forward to Zion never playing another game in New Orleans because he just doesn't want to be there and he wants out. And I look forward to the Knicks giving up 9 first-round picks so he could then have a foot injury and play 15 games, right? Like, the NBA is insane. And I'm glad the NFL has not become that. And we saw that with Rodgers. Now, look, Rodgers didn't lose, okay? He got $153 million guaranteed. Nobody's saying it's about winning and losing, but it is about the idea that, look, there's a certain way to go about this stuff. Rodgers tried to force his way out last year, couldn't do it. Murray this year has been trying to force the Cardinals publicly into an extension. Nope. We extended your coach, didn't extend you. And you know what? If Kyler Murray calms down a little bit and plays well next year, and maybe even just plays ball professionally this offseason, gets the extension. But the message has been sent. And it was sent by the Packers last year. It's been sent by the Cardinals this offseason.
The only problem I have with Kyler Murray is to read a statement. It is now simply up to the Cardinals to decide if they prioritize their rapidly improving 24-year-old, already 2-time Pro Bowl. Come on now. Does anybody understand social media? We got to be able to read the statement here, Kyler. We shouldn't have. What do you want everybody to know? I mean, he said a lot of positive things, and he said, now pay me. Yeah, that's fine. You're right. The Cardinals have leverage. They know they have leverage. I also do wonder, like, as we rip on the NBA and the way they cater to stars, what you're pointing out, Kyler ultimately, if he doesn't want to if he doesn't like the way he's treated there, he could leave. And that's why the league is afraid of.
He's not going anywhere.
No, maybe he's right. That's fine.
He's not going anywhere. They gotta control him for 4 more years.
Right. Well, in 4 more years for him, he'll be 28 years old. He ain't going to be. He's not going to be a relic. So,
I mean, and Jalen Butler chimes in saying that yes, he agrees that Murray's the better player than Kingsbury as a coach. He's heard the opposite on the internet. Jalen, don't ever listen to the internet. There is not a soul in the NFL, not one soul, who thinks that Cliff Kingsbury is a better coach than Kyler Murray as a player. In fact, a lot of people, when they signed the extension, were like flabbergasted that they signed Cliff Kingsbury to 2027. Okay, but in the end, look, let's move on here. But I think, the one thing I really did want to hit on quickly, because it matters, the big loser that I mentioned in this whole thing with Rodgers, other than the NFC North, which is certainly a loser, is Denver. Denver hired Nathaniel Hackett. Now, I'm not saying that Hackett doesn't deserve to be head coach, but they hired him with the idea, at least in mind, hey, he can help get Aaron Rodgers here. Well, as it turns out, no, he cannot. And now you have the situation where you have no quarterback. None. There's nobody coming out in the draft you feel like is readily available and going to start week 1. I think the only quarterback who matters at all in this draft is Malik Willis. We'll see how that plays out. Free agency is atrocious. Marcus Mariota, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Jameis Winston, Mitch Trubisky. I mean, none of it's good. None of it's good. Maybe Winston. I mean, to me, he's the best of the bunch. You're going to trade for Wentz or for Garoppolo? You're finishing in last place in that division. You're the worst team. Maybe you climb above the Raiders. Not great. If you're them, man, it's just another year if you've got no quarterback. And in that division, you have no chance. No chance.
Why don't you just go all in disaster and trade for Jordan Love? Well, we couldn't get that Packer.
They might. They very well might. Honestly, they're the favorites in Vegas to land them. I mean, but I think if you're them, they're a team that never had a real quarterback problem from '83 when they drafted Elway on. They've always had a quarterback. And now this is year what? Year 7 of this now, where they just don't have a quarterback. And in that division, I mean, I wrote about this, and I don't want to be off on the figure. Some of you can go look it up. I've written this when I was in Indy. Their record in the division since they won the Super Bowl is something like 11 and 29 or something. I know I'm off by that a little bit. I mean, but it's brutal. They've lost 13 in a row to Kansas City. They've lost, I believe, it's either 4 or 5 in a row to the Raiders. Just can't win the division. And the reason is because every single game they play, they're playing the team that's got a better quarterback. And it's going to be true again this year, no matter what they do.
Bring back Brock Osweiler. That was what's amazing to me about the Denver. Yeah, I know. What's amazing to me about the Denver situation is you have one of the all-time great quarterbacks of all time, and which I just said twice. How he can't identify who can play the position is just fascinating to me. Like, what is that? What is the block here? What are you seeing that you think is real that isn't? But you want to make a prediction on what they do? Are you saying you buy Jordan Love?
Judy just tweeted out a sad face emoji. That pretty much is all you need to know. Okay. What do I predict on what Denver's going to do?
Yeah. Who ends up there? Go all in, Bertrand.
I mean, you're throwing darts, but I'll say that they will trade for Jordan Love, but that they will also bring in a veteran. I'll say they bring. I'm trying to hack his connections too.
Yeah.
I'll say they bring in like Tyrod Taylor, but also like bring in Jordan Love. But I don't think it matters. I think no matter what they do, that's just some shocking thing that's off the radar. They're just not going to be good next year. I mean, they're not, and that roster's not terrible around the quarterback, but it's just not good. I mean, look, and Eddie brings it up right in the chat, and he's right, man. Denver could have had Fields last year, and I get Surtain. They took him, and he's going to be terrific. He's already really good. And hey, you know what? Maybe Fields doesn't end up being the guy, but I got to tell you, I'd have taken that shot. Because without him, you have no chance in that division. Absolutely none.
If Justin Fields had stayed at Ohio State and he was in the draft this year, assuming he had the same year in his last year at Ohio State that he had, what number is he getting picked in this year's draft? I don't think you need to think that hard. I think it's number 1 all day.
Well, no, he wouldn't, because Jacksonville's Trevor Lawrence.
Well, okay.
So no, I was trying to just go through it in my head, but yeah, probably number 2.
Right?
And Jacksonville might even trade out of that pick to some team that really wants him. So, yeah. Oh, listen, no doubt in the world he's a top quarterback. And in this class, yes. In this class, he would probably be the highest graded player.
Yep. Which, when Eddie, you're on it. Like when you go back to that, it's like at the time too, Denver, what are you doing? Even if it's pick between the two, you want. I don't know if Matt Jones would have been the have you all excited right now, but I think you'd feel better than how you're feeling with whatever the future is going to be. All right, Ben Heisler's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. Calvin Ridley suspended for a year.
Let's rip through a little bit more of the outline. So
I'm
at 11:55. I'm going on with your guy, Kevin Powell.
All right, there we go. So franchise tag deadline and free agency is coming. So a special stack in the box is coming on Monday. Verderan, this is your baby. We're gonna be going live at 11 o'clock, and we ain't stopping. So why don't you talk about the vision for what we're going to be doing on Monday all day? Damn it!
I don't know whether this is a really dumb idea or a really good one, but at 11 o'clock Central, we are going to go live as the tampering period opens, and we're going to stay live throughout most of the afternoon. We're going to keep rolling. Look, I mean, if people are in the chat and they're engaged and we're going to stay on. We're going to keep rolling. But we are going to break down free agency in real time as it happens, talk about scenarios, talk about situations, and we're going to see how things play out. Should be a lot of fun. I hope you subscribe if you haven't already. And I hope you are around for what should be a lot of fun. Listen, we see the money rolling in, and the contracts, and I'll be trying to break stuff in real time as well, see if I can do it. But it's going to be a good time on Monday as we are here for all things free agency on my day, the first day back from vacation. Although, of course, vacation has me currently working. But should be a lot of fun, and I encourage everybody to join us. Listen, if you're at work and you're sitting there refreshing Twitter every 20 seconds, don't. Just join us, throw in some earbuds, right? And we'll be your live, updated, talking Twitter, which then gives you all the analysis you could want. It'll be a lot of fun. We'll get you through the day.
We just all get to hang out together. It's going to be a beautiful thing, and this is our first ever Verderam free agency live. So I'm excited to see you in action, buddy. Just full meltdowns will probably happen at some point, along with just a nice settle into a day of NFL entertainment. So 11 o'clock Monday, and we'll be with you well into the afternoon. And so looking forward to that. Anything you want to tee up on the franchise tag deadline that we haven't mentioned yet?
It's today, so by the time everybody hears this, in terms of just the recorded version of the podcast, it's probably going to be outdated. But look, we already have Orlando Brown, okay? We have David Njoku, which I just do not understand for the life of me. That's neither here nor there. So we've had a couple tags already placed. I would be expecting Mike Williams to be tagged if he's not signed long-term by the Chargers. Mike Gesicki, the same thing. Dalton Schultz, I reported yesterday that he's going to get tagged, and he will by the tagged. Cowboys. Yeah. We will see with Marcus Williams, the Saints safety. They have a ridiculously bad cap situation, but you never know with them. It's always possible. Chris Godwin will get tagged if he does not sign long-term before the, I believe it's a 4 p.m. deadline Eastern time. So there are still some guys who are going to get tagged. Devonta Adams will officially get tagged. That'll happen. We'll see with Darius Williams, the corner of the Rams. Does he get tagged? Don't know. It's kind of a 50-50 situation, but Harold Landry, the Titans, I would expect to be tagged. It's not 100% sure, but I would think. So there's still something to come down the pipeline here, but that's where we sit. But, we're waiting on a flurry of activity, or at least an expected flurry of activity here, as we are about, 3.5 hours out from the deadline.
So you agree with the Dolphins tagging Gesicki or no?
Yes, I agree with any of those ones I just mentioned. I don't have any problem with the team tagging the guy. The Njoku thing to me is insane. And Tom Pelissero and I both reported that he was offered $13 million a year and didn't take it. Can anybody explain to me why David Njoku is worth $13 million a year? And can anyone even further explain to me why he didn't take it? Now, I heard the structure on the contract wasn't bad, or wasn't good, rather. Which, okay, fine. Maybe that's true. According to what I was told, it is true. But it's $13 million a year for a guy who, over the last 3 years combined, has 700 some odd yards, okay? And 7 touchdowns. He's never had 640 receiving yards in a season. Like, why are you tagging him? You have Harrison Bryant and Austin Hooper. You couldn't have found a better use of $11 million? I mean, it's crazy to me. Like, what is the point? David Njoku is athletic as hell, and everybody keeps saying, he's going to break out. He's going to break out. Would he like to do it at some point? Because potential, as my father loves to say, is a fancy word for saying you've never done anything. And it's true.
Yeah, well, they love the tight end position, apparently, Verderam. I don't know.
Yes, but nobody produces at it.
Yeah, listen, I don't have a good argument to come back at it. That's a Cleveland Browns thing right there, apparently. Maybe if Baker gets to the next level and Njoku will look better, is that our best argument?
Yeah, I'll tell you here. So I'll tell you this. I was also told this yesterday, and I reported some of this. The Browns are going to be heavy on receivers in the free agency market. Yeah, I was told that. So are the Dolphins. Those are 2 teams I was told to keep an eye out on. They're going to be heavy there. The one thing I didn't report, and I'm not going to report everything I was told because I have to verify it, but I'll throw this little breadcrumb out there. Don't be surprised if the Browns are sniffing around on quarterbacks.
Whoa. Like who?
I don't think Kirk Cousins would be the worst fit in the world there, considering how close he was with Stefanski in Minnesota. Now, again,
that's a good call.
I'm not sitting here reporting that that's going to happen. Okay, I'm just saying, chatter around the league is that if Cleveland were to go sniffing around a quarterback, don't be totally shocked. Okay, Mayfield's entering the last year of his deal. That thing was a disaster last year, and he was hurt. Okay, he played through it. All that's true. But it's also true he's in the last year of his contract. They're feeling some heat because that thing went backwards in a real way last year. And if they could find a way to upgrade at the quarterback position, there's a belief around the league, at least to some degree around the league, that they would not be opposed to looking. That they're not, it's not exactly the marital bliss between Mayfield and Cleveland that maybe it was a year ago. So I would just throw that out there as chatter I'm hearing, not necessarily, I'm reporting they're going to move on or anything, because I'm not. But I think that is definitely conversation that's out there. And it's something just to keep an eye on with Cleveland as we move forward.
All right, on that note, let's bring in Ben Heisler, managing editor, Bet-Sided. Big betting news this week with Calvin Ridley getting popped for betting $1,500 combined dollars on his Atlanta Falcons, and now suspended for a year by the NFL, while guys like Stephen Ross, who was allegedly going to pay Brian Flores $100,000 per loss, so the Dolphins would get a high draft pick. No suspension over there. Ben, good to see you, buddy. Were you stunned? Were you in Heisler? I don't know, prone position, hearing that Ridley was out for a year betting on football, which I'm sure he's not the only one in the NFL doing this.
Yeah, there's got to be a couple proxy plays with some of these guys. There's too much good information to go along. It was just a dumb thing to do. Like, we could have the conversation as to whether or not there's any consistency when it comes to the NFL levying punishments on players and whether guys deserve more games than others. Like, the thing about Ridley was that it was just a moronically stupid thing to do. You can't bet on the NFL when you play in the NFL. Like, this wasn't a very difficult concept. So yeah, he's going to be out a year. He bet $1,500 and what's his salary this year?
$11 million.
Yeah. So that's basically what you're losing out on here. And yes, the NFL needs as much integrity when it comes to the actual on-field operation as humanly possible. But I mean, my takeaway is that the system in place works. Ridley placed the bet over at the Hard Rock Sportsbook app, and one of the monitors that would go through, and this is part of the reason why having legal sports betting in the United States is a good thing, is there are operations that take place to make sure that who is placing that bet should or should not be placing that bet. So the information that came and said, hey, this is a little bit suspicious, let's bring it up. And he got reprimanded for it. And turns out that's a good thing. So to me, it was just kind of a funny story. I like the fact that he was doing parlays. And as Ian McMillan wrote, Calvin Ridley was doing and making the same mistakes that most casual bettors make, except he actually had good information.
So look, to me, this is really easy. Like, I've already seen people on Twitter with this whole, like, the player's never wrong thing. They're like, oh God, the NFL makes so much money off gambling. Guess what? So do the players. Okay? Because their salaries are tied into the percentage that the NFL Players Association has to be paid by the cap, right? So let's just say the players get 50%. They don't. I think they get 48.5 or 49%. Well, let's say they get 50%. Okay? And the league revenues are X. Well, then the players are getting half that, right? Whatever the cap revenue fits into the formula. All that gambling money, that helps the players get paid because the cap's going to go up. So the NFL is getting rich. Yes, so are the players. This idea that the players are getting screwed is crazy. Calvin Ridley did a really idiotic thing and is going to pay a really idiotic price. Okay? The man bet $1,500 and lost $11 million. Now, Heisler, I'm not great with odds. That's got to be the worst bet in the history of life. Like, who in the hell told him that was a great day? And by the way, my favorite part of the story was that he bet an 8-team parlay. Like, you know how mental you've got to be, like in terms of like your gambling acumen. 8-team parlay. That's something I would do in baseball. Okay, that is a train wreck of a decision. And it's one of those things where it's like you maybe get like that bonus money, right? And you're like, $5 to win 2,000. You know, like some astronomical odds. Look, Ridley knows he can't bet. Okay, every player in the league knows he can't bet. They're told that over and over and over. It's posted in every building. They know they are not allowed to gamble on games. And I know people will say, well, he wasn't playing in those games. Still have inside information. You're still on a roster. Okay. You still have an opportunity to affect an outcome of the game. What is there to say? Let's just say, okay, it's the Falcons and the Jags. What is there to say that, hey, he didn't bet? Now, we know he bet 1,500. Okay. But you could have a guy who bets 10 million. Okay. Who's got a huge deal, who then calls up some guy in Jacksonville, and maybe they're buddies from college, and says, hey, man, take a dive. We'll split the money. You can't have it. You cannot. So all these people are like, you bet on his own team to win. That doesn't mean there's integrity, okay? That doesn't mean that. So it's the NFL had to come down heavy-handed. I'll be honest with you. He's lucky he's not suspended for life. 1 year, he should take that and be thankful.
That's an interesting way of looking at it, and I actually would, at the end of the day, probably agree with you. But I would, if it was me and I was Roger Goodell or whoever is going to sit down with Calvin Ridley, hey, dude, did you bet $1,500 on the Atlanta Falcons in some weird parlays?
It's not good.
And then see what he says. You know, and yeah, I did. Why did you do that? And see what he says there, dude. You know, you got to try to get a sense of like, you know, what exactly. I mean, there was this like just some weird thing that he just, you know, oddly fell into, and then I could see like a 4-game suspension and don't ever, you know, or versus like if this is a real problem, then go further down the Verderame line of like, yeah, you're done. Like I think that like to me it warrants a little further. Like I want to know exactly what we're dealing with here.
Oh, they're gonna, they're going to, but I mean you can't suspend him for 4 games. You if you're the NFL and any sport in this country, you always have to say, through your actions, our sport is above board. That there is no nonsense going on. I mean, how Ben, you might not even know you might know the answer to this rather. How much money is dropped every week on average in the NFL in gambling in this country? I mean, maybe you don't know. And I'm not trying to put you in the spot.
On a monthly basis during NFL season, we're talking about billions of dollars at the top states that are producing sports betting. So if you want to average that out, anywhere between 250 and 300 million being bet legally in the United States. Obviously, that number continues to climb further and further if you're talking about offshore books. But
hold on, Vernon. Like, okay, you're saying all that, but now we have a former head coach, now assistant coach with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who is accusing an owner of offering to pay to lose games, and nothing happens. How do you put that all together?
Because they're still doing the investigation. I'll tell you right now, they proved that happened. He's selling that team tonight. Okay, like you mark my words. If they can prove that happened, Stephen Ross is selling that team tonight. You cannot have a league that is viable for bettors, which matters to the NFL. And by the way, it's mattered to the NFL forever, even if they didn't acknowledge it before it became legal all over the United States.
True, of course.
Okay. I mean, Jimmy the Greek exists, right? Like it matters. But my point is, if that's not above board, your integrity's shot. Your integrity is everything in this business. People have to believe when they put down their money that it's on the level. If it's not, you're done. Okay. And the other part of that is, like, look at history. Tim Donaghy in the NBA, not all that long ago, right? Point shaving, all the rest of it is an official, gone for life. You go way, way, way back in baseball, the 1919 Black Sox, throw the World Series. Now, obviously, that's different than what Calvin Ridley did. I'm not trying to say I'm equating the actions, but the point is, it's about integrity in the sport. Those guys, those 8 players were banned for life. Okay. And you haven't had a problem like that in baseball since, except for Pete Rose, who was banned for life, who also, by the way, only bet on his own team to win, at least as far as we know.
Reportedly. Right.
Reportedly. So you have, if you're the NFL, I'm serious. Calvin Ridley's lucky he's not suspended for life. Like, he's really lucky he's even coming back. Because if you're the NFL, that is your biggest fear. Your biggest fear is that the extended arm of gambling in this country leads to that.
And to Verderam's point really quickly, like with regards to Stephen Rosscarm, there's sort of this weird intersection here because teams have been tanking for a long time. Like, we see it every year across multiple sports. The difference is that it's sort of a top-down directive where the front office basically says we're in a rebuilding mode. You know, we might bring in a head coach to develop young talent. Now, we know we're not necessarily going to be competitive, but there's no direction said to the coach.
Right.
You then have to lose games. And that's where I think Verderam's point comes in. If the NFL does this investigation on Brian Flores' claim that Stephen Ross told him as the head coach to lose games, and if he were to lose games, he would get payment as a result of it, then I agree with Verderam. He'd be gone. He'd have to sell the team the next day. The problem is that it's just there's too many inconsistencies with other teams tanking in a similar situation. Like, there's always going to be general managers and front office executives that are not putting their best product on the field. They're not spending the type of money. Baseball's been dealing with this issue for how many years now? And it's part of why we're continuing to see a lockout in place, because the players are trying to get a more competitive market on the field, and owners are putting a lot of that money, that shared revenue, in their pockets. I just don't know how the NFL, unless they have something on tape that's going to confirm Stephen Ross went up to Brian Flores. And like, I believe he said it. I absolutely believe that was absolutely on the table. I just don't know if they can prove it.
Yeah, I guess maybe my larger question would be like, while this investigation is going on, is he suspended or something? I don't know. But look, to the overriding point on Ridley, I would think the concern here is that he doesn't quite get what he did, because his reaction to go on Twitter and be like,
care at all.
Yeah, LOL, I bet 1,500. No, dude. It's not the amount of money. And you've just been suspended for a year. Don't try to get the yahoos on Twitter behind you to try to like have some validation to your incredibly bad choice. I mean, that's not great.
That's the thing that drives me a little crazy. Are these people that, like, players can never do anything wrong? Like, no matter what happens, it's always like all the big bad NFL's out to get him, and he did a really stupid thing and got caught doing it. Like, just say it. It's okay. Like, then you'll have the people who are like, well, he's getting a year for this, but someone with domestic violence issues gets less. And yeah, look, you're not getting any argument out of me, right? Like, anybody with domestic violence issues, or is found to be, guilty of domestic violence, I don't care if you ban them for life. Okay, I have no problem with any of that. And I agree, like, those penalties, they're not severe enough in the NFL. I am 100% with those people who say that. But that doesn't mean that, like, Calvin literally should be getting like a 1 or 2 game suspension for what he did. He should be getting a year. People who commit crimes, especially of domestic violence, and maybe even, a DWI, whatever you want to throw in there, yes, should get stiffer penalties. But that doesn't mean, like, let's just make everything lesser because we're wrong in one area. You have to look at it and say, yeah, as far as the NFL is concerned, as awful as it is, like, a domestic violence issue is hideous. It is way worse than what Calvin Ridley did as a human being. There is no argument for that. But from the NFL's perspective, domestic violence is not hurting the integrity of the game. Now, I would argue it's a black eye on the sport in the sense of it's a horrible look. Okay, it's a horrible look for the league and the way they handle it. At the same point, is the league more concerned about that, or is it concerned about the integrity of the game? Right now, from a business standpoint, it's more concerned about Ridley. Probably should be more concerned about all of it. But that's what they would say behind closed doors. And so Ridley is suspended for a year. And people can be upset about it, but they're wrong in this case. Like, he needed to be whacked for what happened here. They needed to come down hard, and they did. And now when he comes back from the suspension, assuming he does, it's because it's indefinitely, technically. Look, he's basically not played football for 2 years. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens next for Calvin Ridley.
Well, so you're saying that, and then or questioning that, wondering that, and Eddie's putting in the chat that who's going to take a chance? Somebody's going to take a chance on him. Dude's massively talented. He'll be 28 years old. Someone's taking a chance on Calvin Ridley. His career's not over. The other thing I would and Zach Best, who I believe knows something about this company, is joining the show just to let us know that the Patrick Mahomes contract is looking amazing almost daily, which we started the show with that for the record. Yes, everybody is celebrating that the Aaron Rodgers reset of the football market, quarterback market, makes the Mahomes deal look great. Kansas City, congratulations. So I just would like to point out here that two things. Number one, don't be an idiot. Look to the long term. And number two, don't double down when you are an idiot. Fall on the sword. Made a mistake. My bad. NFL, I hate that I put you in this position. I hate that I put my teammates in this position. Just, when you look in the mirror, own things in life, and people will forgive. And your point about the league and everything off the field, Verderam, the product on the field is so damn good that no one cares what happens off the field. The NFL has had some of the worst controversies you can possibly have. If we just, on a short-term focus, if we just go back to Colin Kaepernick, the NFL banned a player, they blackballed a player from the league. And yet it had zero impact on people watching football. And the players didn't fight back for Cap, right? You've had Deshaun Watson, a zillion things off the field. Nothing matters because every time on Sunday afternoon, people want to see the game play. They want to have their gambling. So none of that has any impact on how many people turn the TV on. It just doesn't. Or if it does, it's very, very minuscule. However, to your point, which you just underlined incredibly well, if you had a huge gambling scandal and people didn't know that their money was actually legit, it would have an impact. So, or at least in theory, it would. So
it would. And I think that's why, people look at these things sometimes from the wrong perspective. Like at least nobody who's a normal, well-adjusted human being is okay with some of these things that happen off the field, right? Like nobody would say, oh, it's fine. But from the NFL's business perspective, someone getting into a court case over, gun charges or driving under the influence, or unfortunately, even something like a domestic violence call, right? Like those things are worse in a vacuum than what Calvin Ridley did. But from the NFL's business perspective, what Calvin Ridley did is the worst thing you can do. And they're always going to come down hardest on something that affects their bottom line. That's reality. It is. Maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe in a morally grounded world, it shouldn't be, but it is.
Yeah, we're not, this is not, the NFL is clearly not about morals. It's about entertainment. And we love to be entertained. Ben, anything else that we should know in the gambling space right now? Anything interesting to you? Jordan Love's odds? Anything that's just jumping around in your mind?
I did set odds actually for Jordan Love. They are not available at WinBet, and I believe that article actually just went up over at Fansided. But if you guys would like to know what I've set the odds at for Jordan Love for his next team, and please feel free to just rip them to shreds because my odds making experience is few credits shy of that degree. I have the Denver Broncos as the clear favorite at plus 150, followed by the Pittsburgh Steelers at 225, Washington Commanders at plus 275, the Carolina Panthers at plus 350, the New York Football Giants at plus 450, and then the field at plus 300. To me, it's Broncos, Steelers probably make the most sense of every team that might be looking for a quarterback with, even though he only has one game of actual starting experience, he does have 2 seasons learning under the reigning MVP both years he's been drafted.
Oh, if you're Denver, You have 5 top 100 picks. Let's just flip one of them, right? I mean, why not? Why not?
And if they don't, then that's a pretty damning statement about the guy that spent the last 2 years with them.
Yeah, if Nathaniel Hackett's like, you know what, I'm good. I'd rather have the 70th overall pick or whatever it is, right? Like, that's rough. I thought it was a pretty damning statement by the Packers to not only keep Rodgers signed to a 4-year, $200 million deal. Like, that tells you all you need to know what they think of Jordan Love.
I don't know.
They didn't have to sign him, Carm. They didn't have to, man. They could have just played it out.
Yeah, but it would have been well. Okay, I don't know if you could have played it out. I think you would have had a.
What was he doing? Retiring? Going to host Jeopardy? He'd have been there. He's so full of it, just like he was last year.
Hold on.
He'd have been there week 1 playing football.
Maybe, but they made a deal that they would assess everything. So you'd be going back on your word. You couldn't do that after all the goodwill they had built up. They had to move forward. I think this is just more. Listen. The way I see it, it's more a bet on Aaron and his value to the Packers, both on and off the field, than a complete condemnation of Jordan Love.
I agree with that, but I also think if they really thought Jordan Love was like a franchise-level quarterback, I think they would have moved off Aaron Rodgers.
I would agree with that too. If they thought they had the next
Denver
Aaron
makes
Rodgers
the most sense. Although Washington, give Washington the ballsiest move of the offseason award to this point, calling up every team and just being like, what do you want for your quarterback, including the Chiefs? I would have paid good money to have had a tape of that conversation. Like, what would that have taken? Maybe I'll even do some digging on this in here, like try to find out what the conversation was. What were they offering? And if the Chiefs, like, did the Chiefs counter? Were the Chiefs like, look, 10 firsts? Like, and we can finish up on this note. If you guys get that phone call, okay, and you're in the Chiefs GM chair, you're Brett Veach, and the Washington Commanders call you up and say, we would like to trade for Patrick Mahomes. Now, assuming you don't just click the phone down, what is the amount of picks that they have to offer you for you to at least listen to the argument?
I think the phone gets clicked.
Can I defend the Washington Commanders for a quick second here?
Of course.
I don't think it's a terrible thing that they went and asked what the value is of Patrick Mahomes. You should know what the rest of the league values their highest commodities at. Like, if you're a general manager and you're not sure what that number is, I don't think you're doing as good of a job as you possibly can do. You should know the value of other guys across the league and get it confirmed. Now, I don't think they go in saying, all right, like, we really want Patrick, make us a deal. Like, I don't think that's how that conversation went down. No. I mean, I hope it is, because that's hilarious. But I think if you have the conversation saying, listen, we're doing our due diligence, we're trying to get a sense, like, clearly we're in the market for a quarterback. Tell us what it would take. Hypothetically, we know you're not trading him, but tell us what it would take. And then Brett Veach or the rest of his staff laughs and says, all right, you got to give me a first round pick every year. That it's like a Bobby Bonilla type deal. Like, every year, you get a certain amount of, you get a first round draft pick for as long as he continues to play in the league. So if he plays for another, how old is Mahomes now? 26?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say he plays until he's 40. You get 14 first round draft picks. And you know what? That's not a bad deal at all.
You would do it.
That's not a bad deal. You have 14 first round picks for every year that Patrick Mahomes plays football in the NFL. Like, to me, that's actually a reasonable deal.
That's why this is so funny, because I was thinking about this when I was driving back from Indy, and I was like, I really think that Washington could have offered them 10 first-round picks, and I don't know that it would be I don't know that Kansas City would do it, because you could have 50 first-round picks and never find him again, right? Like, I know that's crazy, and I'm sure like some draft analytics nerd just fell off their chair and had a heart attack, but I really like.
Not for a quarterback. I think the metrics would actually side with the all-star 26-year-old quarterback that's going to be in this league. That's on a trajectory for a first ballot Hall of Fame.
Were you in the car by yourself?
I was.
Were you talking to the windshield, or was it just in your head? Were you doing a show?
In my head. It was in my head while
just in your head. Okay. Because I mean, some of my best work is to the windshield, so I'm envisioning Verderame having a running
team talk to yourself guy. Like, when I write a column, I'm absolutely talking the thing out. Like, Maisie asked me, she's like, why who are you talking to? Why are you talking? I'm like, nobody. I'm like, I'm verbally working this out so I could hear. Like, if I had to make this argument, somebody would make sense. Oh no, I definitely. I'm pro. Have a conversation with yourself if you need to work something out.
What about streets of Rockford, walking around, and then all of a sudden getting the weird glance, like or feeling self-conscious? I am really talking out loud right now, as I did this morning, by the way, on my walk to work, just having a convo.
I left being uptight about anything like that a long time ago.
Oh, good for you.
I thought it was don't care. Yeah. Don't care. Happy to look like the neighborhood lunatic as I'm working through my next stack in the box column. That's fine.
Hey, everybody, check out Verderam's work from the Combine, fansided.com, and check out everything Ben's doing, fansided.com/betsided. And Ben, you want to promote anything? I know you guys are rocking and rolling with many a show over there. Get up and wake up early, damn it.
Yeah, Bet and Breakfast is every Monday and Thursday. We're live at 7 a.m. Eastern. Of course, you can find those podcasts and those videos available on demand anytime afterwards. Right now, as far as the stuff for conference tournament week in college basketball and the upcoming NCAA tournament, like Reed Wallach, one of our college basketball insiders, is as locked in as anybody that I've ever seen. He's been doing some great work. Definitely recommend anybody if you're looking to make sure that you're going to go ahead and cash in on those brackets. A lot of those different metrics apply to the world of betting. And he actually wrote an article a couple of weeks ago about one particular stat that will indicate 19 of the last 21 NCAA tournament winners. It's a very easy stat to find. He lays it right out for you. You can find it over at betsided.com.
Great stuff. Verderam, thank you for getting up, buddy.
Yeah, it probably was time at 10:30 to get out of bed. Listen, vacation. I am so tired after Indianapolis. I'm so tired that I need it. You know how hard it is for me to stay out till 5:10 in the morning, and then go to a presser at 8. It's not easy. It's not easy. I'm glad I was able to.
Did you get the St. Elmo's when you were there, Verderam? Because I went to Indiana. I spent 45 minutes. I was 45 minutes outside of Indianapolis. I went to Indianapolis 1,000 times, and I still have not had the shrimp cocktail there.
It was the last night I was there, and I got invited there by a really good friend, and so we went and we had dinner. And actually, it was funny. I believe, unless we walked by Charlie Weiss, and at one point there were some other people there. It's kind of a who's who, but yes, I got the shrimp cocktail. It was amazing. I also for dinner had. I'm a big seafood guy. Jumbo shrimp and king crab meat in a pesto linguine. My God, it was unbelievable. I will tell you this though, Fanside took care of me, did me right. I went to Ruth Chris and St. Elmo's on back-to-back nights. Per diem ain't covering that, fellas. That was one of those things where the bill came. I just texted my wife, listen, just accept that we're gonna have to pay a little bit out of pocket here, but it worked out. It was worth it. Ruth Chris, my God, there was 13 of us at that place.
It's nice to have.
There's a bill that size in my life. Hopefully never will again. But it was great, man. And the St. Elmo's shrimp cocktail is worth it. It is. Hey, last thing I'll say, they better put that combine back in Indianapolis. There's not a soul alive who wants this thing to go to Dallas or LA. There's nobody. The people who cover the teams in those cities would rather be in Indianapolis. So I know the NFL is going to screw every single one of us and move the thing to like Mars just because they can get an extra cent out of it. Indianapolis is a great host city. They do a great job at the combine every year. It'd be a shame if they move it.
Take care of Matt Verderam, leaving it Indy. Thank you for watching Stack in the Box. Don't forget, free agency Monday, 11 o'clock. We are live until God knows when. At least
Kingdom come, baby.
So, Ben, get ready to be jumping on a bunch as we'll be looking for all sorts of conversation, as we'll be doing all the NFL you can possibly handle Monday at 11. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell, too. Turn those notifications on. Ben, thanks for being here, brother.
Good to see you guys.
Verderam, you the man. Keep it rolling. I won't even bring up the fact that your Nick Stink and Tom Thibodeau has absolutely ruined your life. That's my
I look forward to him getting fired.
Yeah, it's not his fault. The roster.
No, it's his fault. It's a lot of it's his fault. He's all about playing Alec Burks instead of playing like actual basketball players. It just refuses to do it.
He's had a rough year. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Aaron Rodgers back to the pack. Yeah, that's how it should. That's how it should be. So we'll see him in green and gold for maybe 4 more years, baby. All right. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Stack in the Box saying goodbye.